Chicken Little. Well, this is definitely an awkward piece of Disney animation history. Back in the mid-2000s, when Pixar and DreamWorks were ruling the animation industry with their computer-animated features, Disney was in one of their low points when their films like Treasure Planet and Brother Bear were not getting as much attention or praise as their films from the previous decade. It was even worse when they completely embarrassed themselves with Home on the Range. So, in order to adapt and compete with the big boys, they decided to go and make their first fully computer-animated film, as well as being the first ever feature film to be released in digital 3D. Yeah, because of that, Chicken Little has now set its mark in cinema history. Let that sink in. But as Disney made its first step into CG without the help of Pixar, did they create something to be proud to be a part of their legendary collection? Or is the sky not the only thing that's falling in this film? Let's find out. The story.
I just hope they stay true to what really happened.
Oh, son, these people are from Hollywood. The one thing they will never do is mess with a good story.
Oh, how I wish it were true, Buck. But alas, I don't think even this story knows what it's doing. Considering how this is Disney's first time to play with their new toy by themselves, instead of putting its focus on the journey for Chicken Little's redemption, it rather wants to try out all sorts of things in a fast pace with its humor and action scenes. This ends up leaving little room to actually tell a plot, and the most that it gives us is just updates on Chicken Little's social status. In other words, the only time when the entire town isn't in chaos or when the characters aren't running away in panic is when they have to remind us that Chicken Little is a loser, Chicken Little is still a loser, and Chicken Little is even more of a loser. Sounds like a fun Disney film, isn't it? As you could tell, all it does is give this overall unpleasant tone, since most of the film consists of either the main character in peril or that the whole town hates him. But wait a minute, you may say, there was at one point when everybody loved him outside of the ending, and that is the baseball scene, remember? Well, yeah, but if I may ask, what's the point of that scene? Seriously, what does it have to do with anything going on with the rest of the film? He doesn't use his new baseball skills to save the day, or that it connects to the events that would lead to the aliens invade Okie Oaks, so why have it? So we could get a taste of Chicken Little be happy and connect with his dad? Let's face it, that whole baseball bit was just 15 minutes worth of pointless filler. That's it. Anyways, since one of the focus is on the humor, can it make up for the lack of story? No, not really. Here's what makes this unusual as a Disney film. For every second that it has, it tries to throw in as much visual gags, slapstick, and pop culture references as possible, many of which are not even funny, nor do they even have a point.
Men.
'Twas beauty that killed the beast.
I guess only girls are good at honest communication and sensitivity.
This is why it's hard to believe that this is coming from Disney. They usually know the importance of a story in a movie, but they somehow completely forgot it here. The animation. As it is Disney's first fully computer animated feature, the best way to describe the animation is that, yeah, it really shows. I can see what they're trying to do with it, but the result came out with such low standards. And keep in mind, this was released at the end of 2005, the year after The Incredibles and Shrek 2, so it had no excuse for this. Starting off with the overall designs, the movie wants to have a cartoonier approach to it. The characters look more reminiscent to the art style of their more comical films like The Emperor's New Groove and Home on the Range, and the town of Okie Oaks is meant to be lifted from Disney's cartoons from the 40s and 50s. Also, the character animation is meant to be more playful with a large use of squash and stretch. I see what Disney wants to achieve, but it all comes out looking pretty bad. Not because it tries too hard to be cartoony, but more that it's obvious how the crew lacked experience with the technology. This results in the animation getting a lot of problems at the same time. The movements are awkward, the textures are unnatural, the extras start to look the same, the designs feel like they don't sit well in CG, and all the chaotic action scenes look like a mess. It doesn't help either that the movie decided that's how it begins. If there is something that the visuals did manage to get right, it's most likely with the aliens. Everything from the concepts to their design, to even their spaceship and technology, this is where all the movie's creativity and uniqueness comes from, and admittedly, it does make the third act interesting to watch. Granted, having aliens in a Chicken Little movie makes absolutely no sense, but that's the fault of the writing. The animators had to work with what they were offered, and they pulled out the best from it. What works in the animation looks pretty good, but what doesn't work makes you wish that they did ask help from Pixar. The characters. The movie features an interesting mixed bag with all their characters. You might get some decent ones, and some that they clearly had no idea what to do with them. Starting with Chicken Little himself, all I get from this guy is that he's a loser. Sure, he's the old odd man out screw up trope, but the movie forgot to give him a reason why to like him. Other characters with that trope would include something like a dream, a quirky personality, a need to want more in life, or anything to explain why we should root for him and be by his side even at his darkest hour. Without it though, everybody is calling him a loser to the point that even I'm starting to believe it and wonder why that this movie is about him anyways. Moving along to his friends, there's Abby Millard, Chicken Little's best friend and biggest supporter, who could be the best character here and even somewhat likable. Run to the Litter is the easiest to frighten and panic, and is actually powered by dated pop songs.
We'll survive! I will survive? Break, Abby!
Okay.
Then we have Fish Out of Water, who actually seems pretty pointless here. Seriously, he does nothing but make pop culture references, and anything that did happen to him could have easily been replaced by Abby or Runt. I guess he's meant as the comic relief, but we already have Runt and Turkey Lurkey doing that, and they arguably can have their good moments. So he's pretty much as pointless as the baseball scene. And then there's Buck Cluck, Chicken Little's dad. He's another old trope, but forgets one important element to make him an actual character. He's the tough dad who has a hard relationship with his son, and in the end he learns to love him, but throughout the film, he doesn't show any sort of support whatsoever. In fact, most of the vibes that Chicken Little is a loser actually comes from him without giving a single reason why he would still want to be associated with his own freaking son. He just comes off as someone shallow and could arguably be responsible for the movie's downer tone. There are some that you can give a pass to, but for the most part, they're just a collection of some of Disney's weakest characters. This is not Disney. If I never knew who made it, I would have guessed it was some kind of half-rate studio that's trying to be like DreamWorks. Chicken Little is the most unpleasant film from Walt Disney Animation Studios, where instead of telling us a timeless story with masterclass animation, it rather wants to fill itself with unfunny humor, unnecessary chaotic action scenes, animation that's mostly mediocre, and some barely likable characters. This is one of the rare films by Disney Animation that it's probably best that you should skip. In fact, instead of watching this, there's actually a better version made by Disney, and that's the 1943 animated short of the same name. It's 10 times shorter than the film, 10 times more close to the original fable, 10 times better animated, and just 10 times better in general. As for the movie, this is easily one of Disney's worst animated films, in which not even they can avoid the AniMat's seal of garbage. guys, this is AniMat. I just want to start things off by thanking Jeremy Sherman for his amazing support on Patreon, which actually allowed him to get this review of Chicken Little. Now, there is actually one positive way to look upon Chicken Little, as it is a Disney movie. Like, sure, a lot of people are pretty embarrassed over the fact that Chicken Little is actually made by the same people that brought us such legendary films as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Fantasia, and all those films. But there is a way that you can look at this and be appreciative of at least a bit of Chicken Little, because what's actually interesting to note, yes, it is their first animated feature to be completely computer animated, and the first one to do so, like, without the help of Pixar, or any use of live action, like dinosaurs, none of that. Now, the thing is with Chicken Little, it's kind of like you see this progress, that they suddenly get better and better and start to know how to use the technology of computer animation, and also learn how to integrate a great story with it. Considering that Chicken Little is actually the last animated feature in general by Disney before John Lasseter would step in and actually become the chief creative officer, not just at Pixar, but also at Disney. So you then see, like, you start off with Chicken Little, that's at the bottom, then things start to progress, and things got a bit better with Meet the Robinsons, then you get Bolt, and then things start to really kick up when you see, like, The Princess and the Frog, Tangled, Winnie the Pooh, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, and so much more. The list goes on. And then you would start to go up to Zootopia, which is an amazing contrast how they go to the bottom at Chicken Little, all the way up to one of the best features that they've actually done with Zootopia. It's really amazing. But yeah, there is that natural progression that you start to see how Chicken Little started with the bottom. Well, okay, yeah, to quote Drake, like, in case there's comments who wants to do that, they started from the bottom, now they're here. But anyways, outside of that stupid little, reference, there is actually another good thing that I do want to say about Chicken Little. There is one particular scene that I really do like about it, is actually the intro, where you got Gary Marshall poking fun at all the different ways, or just some of the ways that Disney would start their movies, like Once Upon a Time, or starting off with The Lion King, or the opening of the book. That's actually the best one. So, if anything, if there's one good thing that Chicken Little gave us, is actually the intro. That's pretty much it. The first minute of the movie is the best thing, then the rest just goes downhill. But anyways, now that Chicken Little is done, it's time that we go and move on to the animation hat. And I just want to mention that if you guys would like to be like Jeremy, and you guys want to go and support my work and get some awesome rewards at the same time, then all you have to do is go to patreon.com/animat. Also, if you guys would like to suggest an animated film you would like me to review and I would put in the animation hat, then write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. Alright, so, okay, wow. Well, I only said one word and already I got my paper. Alright, so the next review shall be... What the... Wait, what's this? Oh, well, okay, that's actually pretty fascinating. Well, we're gonna be jumping from one Disney movie to the next. And where Chicken Little is a recent animated feature that kind of got critically panned, this is an animated classic that actually got critically panned.
Diminished dictionary, that word's in your vocabulary. Hockety, pockety, wockety, whack, that's the way we've got to pack. Spigot to spigot to spigot.
Who are we talking about?